Hello and welcome to the newscast. I'm Daniel Chen. Let's start with the headlines. Seoul has made it clear to Pyongyang the May 24th sanctions will not be lifted until North Korea takes responsibility for sinking the Cheonan warship back in March 2010, which means this will be the fifth straight year of punitive measures against the regime. South Korean, American and Japanese members of the six-party denuclearization talks are set to meet in Seoul next Tuesday for in-depth discussions on North Korea's nuclear weapons upgrades. And at the opening ceremony for a solar innovation center in Cheonan, Chungcheongnam-do province, President Park Geun-hye promised to help SMEs grow into a force to be reckoned with in the global solar applied products market. Finally, a small breakthrough in the months-long wage row at the inter-Korean Kaesong Industrial Park. Seoul's unification ministry said Friday that committees from the two Koreas finally agreed on the payment of overdue wages for some 53,000 North Korean workers hired by South Korean firms at the complex. The North has accepted Seoul's offer to pay those wages at the previous set rate of just over $70. Separate consultations will be held to discuss the North's demand that wages increase to $74 per month. The ruling Saenuri Party and the government said Friday that South Korea needs an apology from the North before it will lift the sanctions imposed on Pyongyang for the deadly sinking of a South Korean warship back in 2010. For details, we turn to our Kim Young-gil.
The ruling Saenuri Party and unification ministry officials made the agreement during a policy coordination meeting on Friday, ahead of the 5th anniversary of the May 24 measures imposed by Seoul on Pyongyang. At the meeting, unification minister Hong Yong-pyo said the May 24 sanctions cannot be lifted under the current circumstances, in which North Korea isn't taking any steps to take responsibility for the sinking. Seoul imposed the sanctions which ban economic and cultural exchanges with Pyongyang after the North torpedo attack on the South Korean Navy corvette Cheonan in March 2010. The North has not yet apologized for the sinking and continues to demand the sanctions be withdrawn. Although the dispute has disrupted inter-Korean relations, the ruling party advised the government to maintain economic ties with the North. The party's chief policymaker Won Yu-chul said Seoul should show some flexibility in providing humanitarian assistance to Pyongyang and maintain any trilateral economic cooperation projects involving the North, like the Najin-Hassan logistics project. The symbolic project involves sending coal from Russia's border city of Hassan to North Korea's port city of Najin via a connected railway, and then shipping the coal to South Korea. Last month, a second shipment of some 140,000 tons of Russian coal arrived in South Korea via Najin. Going forward, the ruling party and the government both say they will do their best to monitor inter-Korean relations, following signs of instability in the North, including its recent claim that it test-fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
South Korea, the United States and Japan will hold talks in Seoul next week on the North Korean nuclear issue. The meeting follows Pyongyang's recent claim that it has successfully test-launched a submarine-launched ballistic missile. Our Connie Kim has this report.
The chief nuclear envoys from South Korea, the United States, and Japan will meet in Seoul for talks on the recent situation in North Korea and its nuclear threats. Seoul's Foreign Affairs Ministry said Friday the two-day meeting, which starts Tuesday, will involve its chief nuclear envoy Hwang Jung-guk and his U.S. and Japanese counterparts Sang Kim and Junichi Ihara. The three serve as delegates to the now suspended six-party talks on denuclearizing North Korea. Through the upcoming talks, they'll seek to bring about progress in the North Korean nuclear issue at all levels, including deterrence, pressure, and dialogue. The trilateral talks come on the heels of North Korea claiming it successfully test-fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile. Pyongyang has also claimed capability of miniaturizing nuclear weapons, a crucial step toward building nuclear missiles. Calling North Korea's test-firing of the submarine-launched ballistic missile a violation of various UN resolutions, Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo are seeking to take action against the regime at the UN. The resolutions ban Pyongyang from conducting any launches using ballistic missile technology. The last meeting between the three countries was held in January, when they agreed on the need for a strong signal from the North that it is sincere about denuclearization before returning to the long-stalled six-party nuclear talks. The talks involving the two Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia were last held in December 2008. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Staying on the subject of security in the peninsula, South Korea and the U.S. has not expected to discuss the potential deployment of an American missile defense system, also known as THAAD, to the Korean peninsula when the leaders of the two countries hold a summit in Washington in mid-June. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs Daniel Russell laid out Washington's position on Thursday, adding that the two sides have not even begun governmental-level consultations. He also downplayed recent media speculation on the issue after U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said talks on THAAD were underway during his visit to Seoul earlier this week. Russell made clear that Kerry's remark was misinterpreted as implying that bilateral discussions had begun and stressed that Kerry was only referring to internal discussions within the U.S. government. Moving on to other stories, Korea opened its 11th Creative Economy Innovation Center in the western province of Chungcheongnam-do today. This one dedicated to the nation's solar energy industry. The center is part of the Park Geun-hye administration's drive to set up a total of 17 such centers across the country to connect local startups with large conglomerates. Shin Se-min reports.
Korea's 11th Innovation Center opened Friday with great fanfare in Cheonan in the western province of Chungcheongnam-do. The opening of the center, which is dedicated to the solar energy sector, coincides with Korea's drive to go green by cutting carbon emissions, seeking renewable energy sources, and lessening its dependence on fossil fuels. President Park Geun-hye, who spoke at the opening ceremony, promised to foster the solar energy industry by spurring innovation in the sector and helping small and mid-sized companies extend their reach into the global market.
충남혁신센터는 태양광 응용 제품 창업과 신시장 개척의 베이스 캠프로서 관련 중소기업의 혁신과 창업을 활성화시킬 것입니다.
President Park also referred to a global solar-powered product market that grows more than 15% annually. She added that the global shift towards going green and using clean energy instead of fossil fuels poses great challenges, but said it offers a myriad of opportunities for the Korean economy. To support the new center, Hanwha Group has unveiled its plan to build a self-sustainable, solar-powered island by wiping out diesel power generators and replacing them with solar panels. Hanwha Q-Cells, one of the world's leading photovoltaic companies, is also investing some $27 million to build a plant in the western coastal city of Seosan that will help smaller firms test their products. The government plans to open 6 more creative economy centers by the end of June, bringing the total of 17 nationwide. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Koreans were reluctant to spend their money in the first quarter this year, even though their average income rose. For some explanations and the defining digits, let's turn to our Kwon So-wa.
Koreans have been hesitant to spend their money in the first 3 months of the year, as the average tendency to consume dropped to an all-time low of 72.3% in the first quarter. The index measures the proportion of disposable income people use every month. Koreans' reluctance to spend may seem curious because they earned more in the first quarter compared to a year before. The average monthly income of Korean households consisting of 2 or more members was a little more than $4,100 in the first quarter, a 2.6% rise from 2014. Factoring in inflation, that's a rise of 2%. Still, households spent just $2,800 a month on average, a mere 0.2% increase from the year before. People spent more than last year on food, health, and housing, and they also spent more on tobacco due to a recent hike that doubled the price. They spent less on phone bills, clothes, and transportation. The lower spending is attributed to low global crude oil prices that contributed a lot to reducing transportation fees. According to Statistics Korea, if oil prices are factored out, there actually could have been a slight rise in spending. Experts say another reason is linked to the rapid aging of the population, as people are saving more these days to prepare for their lives after retirement. Kwon So-wa, Arirang News.
Nut rage is back on the headlines of our newscast. The former Korean Air executive who was jailed after going into a nut rage over how she was served macadamia nuts left prison on Friday after an appeals court lowered her sentence. The Seoul High Court reduced Cho Yeon-na's sentence from 1 year in prison to 10 months, suspended for 2 years. It ruled that Cho, the daughter of the airline's chairman, violated aviation security law when she ordered the chief flight attendant off a departing flight in December, forcing it to return to the terminal in New York. The court said, however, her actions did not force the plane to change its flight path, one of the most contentious points of the case. The upper court also upheld her conviction for assaulting flight attendants. Cho had been behind bars since December. In the political realm, Korea's rival parties have agreed to seek a package deal for reforming the pension plan for civil servants and the much larger national pension system. The agreement was made at a closed-door meeting between ruling Saenuri Party lawmaker Cho Won-jin and the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy's Kang Gi-jung on Friday morning. They are the chief policymakers on a special committee on public servant pension reform. The two parties are aiming to pass the civil servant pension reform bill, currently pending in the Judiciary Committee, next Tuesday or Wednesday, so that the bill can be put up for a vote before the full assembly on Thursday. Regarding the national pension system, the parties agreed to specific rules on the composition of a previously agreed-on reform committee. The Park Geun-hye administration has tapped Justice Minister Hwang Kyo-wan to be Korea's next prime minister, but he has a daunting hurdle to clear, a confirmation hearing at the National Assembly. And as you might expect, the main rival parties have different views on how he'll do. Our Park Ji-won gives us the details.
Current Justice Minister Hwang Kyo-wan is the Park Geun-hye administration's sixth prime minister nominee since President Park took office in 2013. Only two previous nominees for the post have actually passed the grueling confirmation hearing process at the National Assembly, so all eyes are now on whether Hwang will be confirmed for the country's second highest office. The ruling Saenuri Party says he will easily pass the test as he already went through the excruciating process when he was appointed Justice Minister 2 years ago.
As Justice Minister, Hwang led the preservation of the nation's constitutional values and legal order.
The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy has vowed to scrutinize the nominee's qualifications for the post. One of the liberal camp's main concerns is whether Hwang's ideology leans too far to the right and whether he can be politically neutral in the job. Hwang was a prosecutor for some 30 years whose area of expertise was the national security law, which bans support of North Korea and anti-state crimes. As Justice Minister, Hwang led the unprecedented dissolution of the far-left Unified Progressive Party late last year for its pro-North Korean activities.
Hwang's nomination is the administration's outright declaration that state affairs will be based on the terror of the national security law.
Also at issue is his salary while he was working at a law firm after he retired from the prosecutor's office. He was paid nearly $1.4 million for the 17 months he spent at the firm, although the number of cases he dealt during that time is reportedly not many. During his confirmation hearing for the Justice Minister position 2 years ago, Hwang said he'd donate some of that money, but it's not yet clear whether he kept his word. His exemption from his mandatory military service back in 1980 has also raised questions. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Let's move on to the latest on the MERS virus here in Korea. The government says the 3 confirmed patients of that disease are now in stable condition as they are not suffering from high fever or acute respiratory problems. There are also no new confirmed cases of the disease, also known as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, after the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed a 3rd case of the disease on Thursday. It isolated 64 people who are family members of medical workers related to the patients. The country's first case of the virus was reported after a 68-year-old man returned from a trip to Bahrain. The older brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un made a rare public appearance in London earlier this week. Japanese broadcaster TBS spotted the 33-year-old Kim Jong-chul at an Eric Clapton concert on Wednesday with a young woman believed to be his girlfriend. Kim, known to be a huge fan of Clapton, seemed to fully enjoy the concert celebrating the rock star's 70th birthday. This was the first public sighting of Kim since his brother came into power back in 2011. The last time the elder Kim was seen in public was 4 years ago, also at another Eric Clapton concert in Singapore. A source in London has confirmed that Kim is headed for Moscow on Friday. And that concludes our newscast for this hour. We do have more coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time with Hwang Ji-F, so join us then. Thank you for watching.